Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Jen Sugarmar, your host of Mindset in the Morning. And that is what this is about. It is about intentionally setting our mind in the morning so that when we go out in the day that we feel at our strongest. The most powerful part to you are the 6 inches in between your ears. That is where all of the magic happens. And so it's so important for us to understand how to use the tools that are up there. I will be completely honest, and as easy as fundamental as it sounds, I did not really understand the power of my mind for 35 years. And when that happened, when I was not in this powerful state, things would just happen and I would react. And that was my life. I didn't have control over it. My life had control over me. So this is something that I've had to work into. This is something that I've had to learn. And I've had many coaches and certifications and really thrown myself into the world of mindset. And because it is so important, I get up at 4:45 every day and I'm here at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday, just talking all things mindset. So I would love if you would support, if you would like, if you would subscribe. And if you get some value from this, I would absolutely appreciate if you would share this with your friends, because this isn't just getting our mind right once. This is a movement for us to take back what's ours, and what we own, what we have in our lives are ours. And this week we've been talking about crisis. Sorry, a piece of hair in my mouth. This week we've been talking about crisis, and this started because of the news that came out with Afghanistan on Sunday, which has triggered and very understandably, it has triggered a lot of people. I myself was in Afghanistan for a year, and we've been there for 20 years now. And to see the same regime take over that was there 20 years ago can trigger a lot of emotions. We've, between financial investments, time, the loss of life, this really has had a global impact. So that's what has precipitated this conversation this week. But if there are topics that you would like to talk about, go out to higherin.heels.com. This is Mindset in the Morning. The show is Mindset in the Morning, brought to you by Higher in Heels. Go to higherin.heels.com and send us a message and let us know what you want to talk about. If you have a specific question, if you have something, a specific situation, or if it's something more general, I'd like to know about this topic, or can you talk to this specific situation? Let us know and we can talk about it on the air. Happy to take one of the mornings and coach through it. So know that that's a resource that's out there for you. So, responding in a crisis. Tony Evans says, your thoughts flow where your energy goes. Whew. That one took me a minute. It is 6 a.m, by the way. Your thoughts go where your energy flows, where your thoughts go. And if we think about this, it is when you're angry, let's say you get angry at something, think about that thing. And we don't need to think about it for a long time, but think about that person that did something and you're like, oh, I can't believe it. Maybe it makes you angry, or you roll your eyes or something, but somebody did something and there was a little bit of discord between you within you. Now, when you think about that person, do you feel those emotions that are going on within you? And that's because where your thoughts go, your energy flows. And your energy right now is flowing towards that situation. And that's why it's making you uncomfortable or angry. Maybe you're like, oh, I'm so mad at that person for doing that thing. How could they have not thought about? And you just start going and going and going. Okay. All right. Back to focus. Let's leave that to the side. We don't want to put ourselves into a state of suffering. But my point is, we have to be so cautious of where our thoughts go, because that's where our energy flows. I think about a friend of mine one time, and her boss was changing jobs, and she and her boss were very close, and she assumed that because of the closeness of their relationship, although he was her boss, and it was a platonic relationship, but they had worked together for many years. And anyhow, so she assumed that he would have told her that he was going to leave before he left. And he gave his 2 weeks. And I think 1 week into the 2 weeks, he told her, and she was just to the moon. I mean, upset, like to the moon and not in a good way. She called me. She was crying. She was upset. What is going to happen to me? What team am I going to go to? What boss am I going to have? Things will never be the same. It was just on and on and on. And I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, this really could be a good thing. It doesn't, because there is a change, because there is a crisis, it doesn't mean that there isn't something good that's going to come out of it, or there's not going to be a change for the better that's coming out of it. But if we are choosing to focus on the fact that it's a bad situation, or we tell ourselves this is bad, then it's a bad situation, but it doesn't have to be 100%. So playing this forward. So my friend for a week or so was just really upset, and everything was, you could see it in the text messages. Like she was just, she held on to this. And, she and I realized that we were at very different points in where we were at in our lives, and we no longer speak. But I will never forget. I will never forget that week that she just had so much emotion that it was like, I'm going to the bar, I'm going drinking, I'm so mad. And that was on multiple days. That's how she wanted to handle her anger. And I'm not judging. This is how she chose to handle it. And she would send text messages, and it was like, I'd be, I'd try to distract her. And so I'd ask about something else. And then all of a sudden, back to work, back to work, back to work. And I even threw out there, what if this is a really good thing? Well, it's not going to be. How could this be good? How could? So in her mind, she determined that this situation was going to be bad no matter what. There was absolutely no convincing her, no talking her through the situation. There was nothing. She had her mind made up that, and I don't doubt that she felt a little hurt, because she probably thought that she and her boss were so close that he would have, I don't know, consulted her before leaving, or at least told her. At least that's how she had conveyed it to me. How could he not tell me? I always brought him cookies to the office, and I don't know, whatever. But my point is, she had her mind made up in the situation. She absolutely was not interested in any other opinion other than her own. When we play this forward and how this turned out, she actually ended up in a different team. The company made a few rearrangements. It took her a month. And after a month of settling into this new position, she absolutely loved her new team, loved her new boss, and was excited for the challenge that was ahead of her. So I say all that because, just as Tony Robbins says, where your thoughts go, your energy flows. So when a crisis happens, it's very easy for us to get fixated on what is negative. And we also know. So in addition to all of these negative thoughts, and that's where our energy is. So when we did that little exercise and we thought about, okay, what is something where there was dissonance with you, whether that be a person, a job, maybe you got divorced, maybe somebody cheated on you, maybe you turned on the news and you saw something, whatever crisis happened in your world, big or small, when you started to think about it, it may have spiked some energy within you and these emotions. And that is very normal to do. But knowing that this is going to happen, we need to be able to look at the situation differently, control our thoughts. We talked about, emotional intelligence. And yesterday we talked about our emotions and communicating those and making sure that we're talking to the right people. But this energy, we know that we are not in our most powerful state when we're in a state of suffering. We know this. We think of, and I use this example, and it's funny because I was talking with somebody yesterday who's in the financial advising space, and he said the exact same thing that we talk about all the time. He said, Jen, we do not want to be playing the stock market. And I had played the stock market a few times, and I am not the right person for this because I don't have that patience. To me, it's more of an emotional thing. It's more of an emotional connection, where that's great if you see money going up, but seeing money going down can get me very anxious. And just the whole process in general, I know that for me to, and that's why I don't gamble. It's just that whole space of money going out the door. I'm okay with investing in myself. I'm okay with investing in my business, but just putting money into a slot machine or, you know, this gives me a lot of anxiety, and I know that. So I just stay away from it altogether. But my financial advisor, he said, Jen, you know, nobody should be playing the stock market or making these decisions when something big happens or when you're anxious and making big moves. So, for example, we saw when COVID happened that so many people went and took their money out of the stock market. And then what happened? It recuperated. And I know a friend of mine, and he took like all his money out and he lost like half of it, and then it recuperated. The market recuperated. And now this is a decision that he has to live with. There is absolutely no reversing that situation. And so out of emotion, he went and really reduced his net worth in half. And not that he doesn't still have half the money, not that he can't go back into the stock market and, watch it rise again. But the truth is, the stock market is volatile. It always has been. It goes up, it goes down. We have a stock market crash once every, I don't know, I think it's been 12 years now since the last one, but every decade or so, we have a crash, and this happens. I was also asking just as a side note, I was asking my financial advisor, I said, does COVID count as a crash? And I think he said technically it does not, because you need 2 quarters of it being a certain amount of negative or negative gains or something like that. So anyway, just a fun little fact that I was like, oh, because I didn't know if that counted, if we were through the hump or not. But anyway, I'm not your financial advisor. Go talk to yours. I'm just regurgitating what I heard. But he reiterated the point that we've talked about here on the show so many times, is that when you're not in that powerful state, that you should not be making certain decisions because they may be in haste. And that's exactly what we're talking about here, is that when a crisis is occurring, it is so important for us to take a pause. And the crisis doesn't have to be, the Afghans have taken over the palace or the power in Afghanistan, or we're watching war atrocities, or, there's been a bombing, or there's been a death or multiple deaths, or any of that. It can be merely that your boss has left the office and you don't know what's going to happen. That we create our own experiences 100%. So whereas your boss may leave and it may be, very traumatic for somebody else, maybe even on your same team, they may be cheering. They may be excited. They may be, maybe not just excited because they didn't like the person, but maybe they're excited because this is something new and they welcome new opportunities. Change can be tough for some people, and for other people, it's an opportunity. And we're going to get more into that tomorrow. But when two people are going through the same situation, it does not mean that they have to have the exact same experience. It doesn't. They don't. So one can be very distraught and say, wow, I was so close with my boss. I'm going to have to get a new team, a new boss. Change is scary. I don't like change. And another person can say, bring it on. I'm excited. Am I going to grow through this? And when you peel it back, there's a belief system, and that is what triggers everything in our life. It all boils down to a belief. So, my friend very well may have had a belief that change is bad. Maybe something in her past where she went, maybe she had a boss that left. And when that boss left, something bad happened at work. Maybe she got laid off because maybe a new employer came, or her new boss started and they laid her off. I don't know. Or maybe she got put with a team and she was very unhappy. It didn't align with her skill set. They weren't invested in where she wanted to be. They just gave her a job and she just wasn't happy. I don't know what her experiences were, but there's some belief behind all of that, that something bad is going to come of this, something not good. Whereas someone else who doesn't have that belief system, someone who says, you know what, last time my boss left, it created opportunity for me. In fact, I got a promotion. So get out of the way. Here I come. I don't know. I don't know what that other person's experience is. But this is when we need to be questioning our belief system and saying, and remember, the most powerful question that you can ask yourself is, does this serve me? So catching yourself when you're in the middle of a situation, when your reactions are a certain way, when your thoughts are a certain way, and ask yourself, does this serve me? Now, I found my friend to be pretty consistent with her responses. Um, and this is where I realized that I had grown to a different space, not better, not worse, just a different space. And I realized that I looked at things with more opportunity. And she held on to this belief system and wasn't willing to look at it. Now, she may get through the situation and come to the realization that, hey, everything is okay. But having that forward thought of everything is going to be okay is a huge character development. It is, because it's just easy for us to look on TV and say, wow, this is a disaster. It's so easy for us to watch our bank accounts decline and say, this is a mess. I need to pull the money out. We may look at the situation from right here, and all we see is just, it's like those Monets. You have to take a step back to see what's really going on. Because when you're here, Monet used so many of these brush strokes that up close, it didn't really look like a picture. It was just a bunch of strokes. He had this incredible technique. Google Monet. I mean, just incredible. And then take a step back, and that's where you see it. So start up close. You can Google it and look closely at your screen and see how much you're able to see. Look at that screen and say, am I able to actually see what's going on? And then start to pull yourself back. That's when you see everything. So as you're going through whatever it is that you're going through, it's completely valid what you're feeling. Remember, we talked about this yesterday. It's okay that your reaction was whatever your reaction was. But is that what serves you? Is that where you want to stay? And I want to put a little asterisk, because sometimes it's good for us to go through some level of emotion to help us get to the other side. And this is going to be a whole nother topic of discussion. I'm not never once will I say suppress your emotions, because I believe truly that's where we're putting the fire and we're just covering up that fire, and then the flames start to burn. So I will never tell you cover up these feelings, but are they serving you? Are they serving you in the capacity that's moving you forward in your life? And you may need to feel some of those feelings in order to get you through this situation. Maybe you want to stop smoking and you need to get really angry at something in order to work you through it. Maybe you saw somebody that died that has, with lung cancer, and you say, man, I'm so mad. I just need to stop smoking. And maybe you need that emotion in that moment. So is that serving you? you're the only one that can answer that. We don't want to stay in these states of suffering. And we know that. We also know that that's where heart disease happens and all of these things. And I can't believe it's already been 20 minutes. I just looked over at the clock. So as we go through these situations, be so aware of the emotions. Don't be afraid to take a pause as you are reacting to, as you are digesting that information. Your feelings, whatever they are valid. Remember to always ask yourself that question. Does this serve me? And it may, just as in that smoking situation, or it very well may not. You may say, you know what? I shouldn't be feeling, I don't want to feel this way. And how do you want to feel? This show is all about becoming intentional. So however you want to show up today, you own that, you control it. So what is in your path that doesn't serve you? When we go through a crisis, this is a breeding ground for your emotions to spike in a negative way, or in a way that induces some level of suffering. So they're valid. Make sure you're communicating them to people, and also take that pause before you respond, because that is not where we're in our most powerful state of being. We don't want to be playing the stock market or doing things, without talking to a financial advisor, which is not Jen Sugarmeyer, but making those decisions on your own. That's where we can lead to mistakes and goof ups and all of that. So, as my financial advisor reiterated on the phone yesterday, thank you. So that being said, I would absolutely appreciate if you would subscribe to the channel. This helps blow up the algorithm so that we can help other people become intentional about their day and talk about these tough topics, because life can be tough and we're going to talk to them. So make sure you also go out to higherandheels.com, shoot me over some, topics of conversation that you're interested in hearing as well. So I am Jen Sugarmeyer, and we will be back here tomorrow, also talking about crisis, but how we find the positive in that. Crisis doesn't always mean negative, and we touched on it today. So I'll see you back here tomorrow. Until then, however it is that you want to show up, go be that person today.